Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
Welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We have a returning guest on. We had her about a year ago at this time talking about Ayurveda and the Ayurvedic way of medicine, and really understanding one thing we talked about during that episode is turmeric and its power of health and wellness and how it leads to just overall health. We're going to welcome back Dr. Gupta to the show. Welcome. And this time she's coming on because she's got a brand new book coming out, The Inflammation Code. And we're diving into what inflammation is, how to treat it on the same lines using her Ayurveda medicine that she's into in her research years ago in India, and how to kind of combat that. Because I think for a lot of people, inflammation is this word that they think they understand, but they really don't. You hear people say, oh, well, it causes inflammation. And I even tell my own clients, oh, it's going to cause inflammation. But I don't think some of the times the people I talk to really understand what inflammation is in the body. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you were saying before we got on, it's taken a while to write a book. That whole process of diving into chapters and understanding how to break it down might not be the easiest thing.
It's really not. It's such a journey to take everything you've studied for 20 years, to put it together into a book, and then to do all that citation, all that work, to keep pulling all the science and research, to keep making your points and present that knowledge as well. Took years. It took years. I wrote that book over 2 summers. And then finally, when Hay House, the publisher, said, yes, we want that book, it took me a long time to really pull that wisdom together, because you're really making a point. You're saying a message around how you want people to think about their health, to approach their health, to understand their health. And these Ayurvedic concepts are pretty new. I'm trying to put language to something that's complex and simplify it for everyone.
And when you say they're pretty new, is that pretty new to kind of the idea of being popularized? Because I would assume that these have been around for almost maybe thousands of years.
Correct. Yeah.
As medicine.
Exactly. Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old system of health, healing, and medicine from India. And it carries so much wisdom to it. There's so much in terms of, there's like specialties of medicine in there. It talked about surgery. It talked about a lot of natural approaches to our health. And ultimately, it's a preventive lifestyle that we can all live. And yes, the tools are all ancient. The truths and wisdoms in there are ancient. And what I always try to do is fuse the ancient wisdom with the modern science, because we're living in modern day times, and our Western scientific mind nowadays wants proof that something's true. Yeah. For example, circadian rhythm, which we're talking about a lot in the West as, oh my gosh, us biohackers and people into longevity are circadian rhythm matters, your sleep matters, all those things. But it's Ayurveda that said the circadian clock exists and the circadian clock matters. And in Ayurveda, we teach a whole entire rhythm to your whole entire day to match up with nature's clock. And that's why I put the book together, was to kind of go much deeper into those topics than I can typically do in one reel or one YouTube video.
It's always fascinating because, yes, we have circadian rhythm, and we've known about that for a long time, but not as long as some of this medicine's been around that's ancient medicine, but to me, there's still that aspect of circadian rhythms and natural rhythms that we've had and kind of known about for thousands of years. It's like you said, now it's just coming out as, hey, we have confirmed research on it now. And the things that they were doing thousands and hundreds of years ago with ancient medicine is still along the same lines and same concepts that people might not have known what they were doing back then, but they had an inclination of what was going on. And that, to me, is fascinating.
True. And I mean, I've had many people who've said to me, look, this is 5,000-year-old wisdom you're teaching, and it still applies now. It's still working for the billion people who live over in India who practice and live by it. These are ancient truths, you said. Even in other areas of health nowadays, naturopathic, homeopathic, chiropractic, there's a lot of different areas of medicine, osteopathic, that we've pulled that are a little bit more ancient wisdoms that people have used for many years. And we're pulling them forward saying, hey, actually, these are valid. And maybe it's going back to ancient truths and simple truths and nature that will heal us. Because I think nowadays we've run far away from what is natural and organic and true and pure. And it's because we're living in this time of environmental toxins and water quality, food quality, air quality, everything kind of being affected all at once. And then you add on the level of inflammation we have. And all of a sudden there's more struggle with our health, with our bodies, with mental health, with everything. And I love that Ayurveda said, look, it's actually pretty simple. It's your gut health. It's your circadian rhythm. Let's talk about inflammation and a really healthy, nourishing diet. Let's talk about your elemental design, your body constitution, how you're made up of nature's elements. Let's talk about spices being a superfood and how you can use those strategically for yourself. And then let's talk about self-care and building a rhythm. Those are the 6 pillars I cover in the book because I like to share how we can build this lifestyle into our own lifestyle. And then we can win at inflammation, and then we're not suffering under the burden of inflammation.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into those 6 pillars as we get into kind of breaking down the book. But I think you mentioned one thing is having that ancient medicine, and it comes to mind where people are fast-paced nowadays and a little bit I would say a little bit quick to not trust modern science and modern medicine because of what's come out through research and what some of the side effects of this medications are. Not saying that all medications are bad, but even some of the stuff that they're using to treat certain issues nowadays, I'll just say the GLP-1 inhibitors and stuff that's coming out, there's stuff from ancient medicine that is going to be healthier from let's say a cell mitochondrial health side that people are starting to look to. How do I optimize my health without putting in these harsh drugs? And I think that is a great outlook to have. I was talking to a client today. They've never been on any supplements, and they said, well, I want to go on something or things that are going to optimize my overall health. And I said, that's a great way to put it, because most people, they're not thinking of, oh, I need to optimize my health. They're just, well, how do I lose weight, or how do I get this? A lot of people are pulling back, and I did this years ago, pulling back into these more ancient herbs and plant medicine to really help increase overall health. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff is going to turn into. I think it's great. Getting into the book, let's first of all, for people, break down when you hear inflammation, when people hear inflammation, what should people be thinking about? Because in the book, you do a great job of describing acute and chronic inflammation. And as a whole, I don't think people really understand what inflammation is in the body, because it's not something you can really see or sometimes feel.
It's true. When it comes to acute inflammation is our body's reaction to anything acute that happens to us. It could be that you hurt your elbow or your knee or something at the gym. Well, the body's response is going to be heat and swelling, and it's going to hurt. And we kind of know when we hurt ourselves and our body is reacting to it. Anytime you have heat, swelling, redness, you're like, oh, I know what that is. I know my body's reacting. I'm going to either put ice on it, or I'm going to take an NSAID. I'm going to shut that down, or I'm going to let it run its course and let my body keep sending the healing that it needs to. And then we'll move forward. I'm sure it'll resolve. But the thing is, most of us have this alternative, this other form of inflammation called chronic low-grade persistent inflammation, which is kind of like this forest fire burning inside of us. And we don't think about it as problematic because it's not really loud enough. There are these fire alarms going off inside of us, but we may not be hearing them or listening to them. And when we have that acute inflammation, oftentimes our body, because we're dealing with stress, because we've got environmental toxins, maybe poor sleep, because the body is just under a lot of maybe stressors of different kinds, all of a sudden, instead of just resolving that acute inflammation, it converts over and turns into this chronic low-grade persistent inflammation. And many of us are feeling those signals. Sometimes you wake up and you've got aches and you've got stiffness, or maybe it's chronic joint pain. Maybe it's brain fog or fatigue. Maybe when you're eating, you've got digestive upset or issues, kind of an IBS or worse. All of these are little fire alarm signals going off in your body that are saying, hey, there's a problem here. But most of us feel those and say, what? I guess that's aging. I guess that's life. That's just aging now. And I always look at my friends when they say that and I go, no, that's inflammaging. That's inflammation meets aging. Inflammation is making you age way faster. And if you took inflammation off the table, those symptoms would go away. And then let's talk about how aging can really look, because aging can look however you want it to. And so that's what I like to highlight to people is almost all of us have some level of chronic low-grade inflammation. And what we're seeing it as is visceral fat, obesity, fatigue, pain. And we're saying, okay, well, I guess that's just normal. And I like to say it's not normal, it's just normalized. And we need to pause and start taking each issue off the table. And then we can start to realize we can have a completely different quality of life. We can have so much more energy. We don't have to wake up with aches and pains. We don't have to have any sort of digestive upset. We actually can just be energized and focused and vibrant. That's my goal for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And it's fascinating because when people, you have inflammation and it's literally attacking your cells. It's cells in the body that are sent out to say, hey, this shouldn't be happening. And it's going to attack. Everyone heard during COVID times, we have cytokines. They're going to release cytokines to go deal with whatever's going wrong in the body. And then when you have that chronically elevated, that's going to cause a lot of problems. You mentioned in your book, autoimmune diseases, metabolic diseases. It's going to affect different systems as we go. And one of the big ones nowadays is autoimmune diseases. They're starting to spread wildfire because of chronic inflammation in the body, literally attacking itself. And you're right, when you see people have visceral body fat and there's, oh, this is just natural, that's not a good attitude to have.
Right. No, it's true. I mean, if you take a step back, because we talk about inflammation and disease, I look at it as the body wants to be healthy. The body wants to be vibrant and whole and healthy. And most of all, it wants to survive. And anytime something comes along and the body's like, I don't know what that is, that's either poison or it's just foreign and I don't know what to do with that, the body's going to react and say, okay, well, we have to deal with that right now. That reaction to friction or a problem is inflammation. And that's why we have such a prevalence of autoimmune issues, such a prevalence of inflammatory issues in the system because of the world we're living in. We're living in a world where, again, food quality really questionable. A lot of what we're consuming, we think of it as food. I don't think of it as food at all. I think of it as chemical products that we are pretending is food, or food lacking in vitamins and minerals, or food that are completely ultra processed or made of seed oils. And the body's going to react and say, okay, Shivani, you ate a Pringles. I have no idea what half that stuff was. I'm just going to create some friction, some inflammation here, react to it, and then I'm going to go park it where I can in your fat cells until you're willing to detox and get rid of this, because I just don't know what that foreign object was. Then air quality. Again, if something's coming into our lungs, straight into the body, and the body doesn't know how to process or filter it. Water quality. Viruses and bacteria that come along can cause, of course, an inflammatory reaction in the body. The body's, I have to protect myself. Could be simple things, our own pH balance. Maybe we're more acidic. Could be external factors, cigarette smoke, or it could be environmental toxins that are bigger than the simpler ones that I'm talking about. And it could also be stress. In the book, I wrote a whole chapter on what I'm now coining as mental inflammation, because I really do believe that we're living in a world where we're consuming so much information and data, and our poor body is, I don't know what to do with all this negativity and stress. And again, the system's in this state of disarray and or causing inflammation, not to mention EMFs and everything else. The goal of the book was to show us, yeah, there's a lot of problems. Those exist. There's going to be inflammation as a reaction. Sure. But we should learn how to really quickly notice and assess that as inflammation and then set up a new set of tools that we use to mitigate it. Because I'm not going to be able to change the air quality where I live in South Florida. I can work on water quality. I can work on air quality. I can work on food, but I'm not going to reach perfection. But where I can work is, how much am I moving my body? How much am I hydrating? How much am I eating well? How much am I addressing all the ways I can build a lifestyle that really undoes the damage of inflammation and combats it really well?
And that's the biggest thing, is the big low hanging fruit of inflammation, because it's always going to be around. Even exercise causes inflammation in a good way, so your body adapts. It's not a bad thing inherently. It's a great design mechanism. It's just nowadays we're driving this inflammation just to the threshold or above when it really shouldn't happen. And you said there's some things we can't change. Air quality, some of the water quality, you could try your best, but some of the big ones are food, what you're consuming, what you're putting on your body, and then daily life. I think the mental aspect is huge of it, because now you see that the social aspect of life is coming down because everyone's just used to being on a screen. There's no empathy and sympathy of reaction. And then many things humans have a negativity bias. You see negative things, there's your algorithm, and it just keeps feeding the brain. And if people don't know how to get out of that loop, it can be a whirlwind of a problem where I'm sure people, you and I know, okay, this is what we're looking at is a negativity bias. We're not going to get pulled into this algorithm. Our algorithms might look different, but there's people out there that they have no idea about the science behind it. So they're just saying, oh, this is what everyone must be seeing. And then it's taken a toll on them mentally, which for me, I think it's one of the biggest problems nowadays, because that stress is just driving more stress. And then everything's a cascade effect. Helping that is going to go a long way, but because it's not going anywhere. This is the world we got to live in.
It's true. And I agree with you completely, because we underestimate what that algorithm pushing at us is doing to us. I have an algorithm that's completely different than your algorithm. When I talk to my family members, they're like, what are you watching online? I'm like, oh my gosh, the water's bad. The air is bad. That's not what we're watching. We're watching Taylor Swift, and we're watching the news, and we're all watching different things in the world, right? And so it's interesting that the algorithms that are out there are going to keep pushing on us, and our own survival brain is always going to look at that content and pause a little longer on the things that are going to protect us, any information that will help us survive more. And it's this perfect storm of content meets a brain that is overloaded, that can only hold much. And instead of spending our time doing self-care, walking in nature, living according to our circadian clock, preparing delicious, healthy, nutritious meals, we're all living a little bit more of a sedentary life on the social media stuff, which I totally understand. I'm pretty addicted to Instagram. I completely sympathize. But what I do is when I see it, and I'm like, this is not making me feel any better, I'll swipe out and I'll take a second and I'll say, what else can I do? And usually my answer to that is, you can get up and move. You can get up and walk in nature. You can have a cup of tea and have some tea times, me time. Choose better. And that was a big point in the book, was this idea of building a circadian rhythm for ourselves every day is actually pretty easy. It's just we have to really have these guardrails on our mind and on our time to prevent all that friction and all that information from entering us that may not serve. And that's why when I wrote the whole book, that final chapter I wrote as mental inflammation, because I kept thinking, how am I going to explain to people that we can do so much good? We can be working out, we can be eating well, we can be tracking our sleep and getting great sleep. I do a lot of those things. But if I'm going to allow massive amounts of stress to still come in, I will still cause the physical inflammation that will still lead to disease. And then what was the point? We have to keep that pillar in mind too, which is, what are we doing to have that really healthy mental health and space in our lives, that we're not allowing that negativity in to cause friction and inflammation anyway.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, you talk about those rhythms, the circadian rhythms. And in your book, early on, you have the elemental, is it designs?
Yes.
Walk me through, because I read it a couple times, and I think people really walk me through kind of that breakdown of that, because this stuff is all new to me, and I find it kind of fascinating, and try to understand, okay, where's my elemental design? But you clearly state in the book, you said, this is Ayurveda with these designs. There's no magic pill. You still have to put the effort into it. You were just saying, it's not you get on this and here's your ticket to life. This is a constant ebb and flow of making sure the rhythms are good, because there are going to be times where they're not good and we got to get back on track. Kind of break down for me the elemental designs, kind of where they come from, the thought process behind it, and how to kind of use that to understand who someone might be and what, I mean, you have diet, lifestyle, energy, all changes. And then in the book, you say the elemental signs can kind of change as you go. That's fascinating because you're not locked down to one thing.
Correct. Elemental designs is such a big concept, and it's an ancient concept from Ayurveda, where Ayurveda taught us we're each made of the 5 elements of nature. We're made up of air, ether, fire, earth, and water, ether being space. And when you take those 5 elements and you break them down a little bit further, you come up with the 3 personality types or body types of Ayurveda. The first one's Vata, the second one's Pitta, and the third one is Kapha. And in the West, we pronounce them Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And the Vata person is made up of air and ether. And you can imagine the properties of air: cold, dry, always in motion, can be as beautiful as a gentle breeze, could be as violent as a tornado, could be in between a ceiling fan that never stops moving and you can never get it to stop. It's always in motion. And taking that understanding and applying it to a person, physically, a Vata body type tends to be someone who's taller or shorter than anyone in their demographic, leaner, super lean, maybe on the skinny side, long features, long oval face, maybe small eyes, tends towards dry, brittle hair. This is someone who mentally, emotionally is kind of that air ether. They're always in motion. This is someone who's going to be drawn to a career more in exercise, yoga. They can't bear to sit still in a desk. This is someone who has a tendency to just talk fast, move fast. This is someone who's can be a busybody energy. Their energy is always in motion as well. When imbalanced, a Vata person tends to have dryness, anxiety, disrupted sleep or insomnia, dryness of the gut and colon, constipation, tends to start things but not finish. And in balance, when they are balanced, they tend to be these really creative, joyful, vibrant beings who have a lot of energy. And so it's important if you're a Vata to really ground yourself. We have a lot of homework for Vata. Vata people can run through their day and never eat. They're that crew who's, I had coffee, I had green juice, and I had some celery sticks. And now it's dinner time and I don't know why I'm tired. And the rest of us look at them, how did you not eat? Many of us have voracious appetites. And that's kind of the archetype of a Vata person. Then you have Pitta people. Pitta people are medium-bodied. This is someone who's fire with some water. All those traits of fire. They run hot. All those things. A Pitta person tends to have reddish skin, reddish hair, maybe even early graying. They tend to have this appetite that's voracious. They get hangry. They get angry. A Pitta person has this personality that's sharp, penetrative, organized. They're ambitious. They're goal-oriented. So they're on their path. And when they're out of balance, they tend to get all the traits of a volcano. They erupt, they burn out, they get angry, they get frustrated, they take it out on the people around them. And my homework for the Pitta crew is, instead of reacting with anger and frustration at everyone in your life, stay cool, calm, collected. It's about the hydration, coconut water. Summer foods are cooling. Maybe take your summer season off. Whenever it's hottest where you are, take that season off as your downtime season to recover for your other seasons, because Pittas tend to be intense in that fire. And then finally, the third constitution is Kapha. And a Kapha person tends to be earthy, earth with water. This is someone who's bigger boned, stronger, sturdier. They can lift heavier. They tend to have a round face, round eyes, maybe oily, curlier hair, oilier skin. Their personality is very one thing at a time. It's earth energy. They talk a little bit slower, move a little bit slower. They're very deliberate in their actions. And their personality type is very much that earth energy. In a man, it's a mountain, very grounded. In a woman, it's that caretaker energy, maybe grandma energy, loving to feed everybody. They are the most loyal, amazing friend to everyone. Physically, they tend to have a slower metabolism. We need to support them with that. Tend to have deep slumber. They sleep the best out of everybody. They can sleep their 10 hours, heavy, deep sleep. They're not the fastest to rise. And in Ayurveda, we want to support them and get that energy moving. And that earth water means they have a tendency towards asthma, dampness, lung stuff. And the homework from Ayurveda is eat cooked meals, small meals, hold bigger intermittent fasts because they have the resilience to do it. Always move first thing in the morning, because once a Kapha person sits down at the end of their day, they're done. We're not going to get them off the couch. We're not going to get them moving. I always teach my Kaphas, understand that about yourself. And we don't all need to be triple hustling, side hustling people. Know your nature, honor your nature. And in Ayurveda, we have to teach everyone has a primary and a secondary constitution. When I said all that, you might be like, well, I'm two of them. Totally. You might have a first and then a secondary, or you might be physically one, mentally, emotionally more into the other category. And then some people are balanced in all three. And I have that elemental design quiz on my website at drshivani.com, and everyone can go take it and it'll tell you immediately which one you are.
Yeah, that was the thing I found when I was reading that. In the book, it's a table, it's a chart. And I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, because when I read books, I also like to question things, or I have to compare it to the stuff I've read previously. And to me, when reading about the body archetypes, okay, I understand that. Could it always be a line? Maybe not. And then it was personality. And that's where it really kind of understand the functions and personality to me was, I'm looking at different autonomically driven and autonomically run human beings than the other ones. And it makes sense. And is this this must be ancient, right?
Yeah, 5,000-year-old science. I just get to teach it. Funny how many people take the quiz and then they email back, and I see all the emails. It's my email on the outbound, and they'll be like, how did you know that about me? How did you know all those weird things about me? It's ancient truth. I just get to teach.
I think with the link wasn't up yet when I tried to go. I have to take it, but I already kind of know where I'm going to lie, because I run, for me, is it the PETA? Or
yes.
To me, that's a very type A personality, high autonomic. They have a tough time shutting down. That's me. And I can see how they can be balanced, but predominantly people are going to have one of these and be like, this is where my autonomics and circadian rhythm are going. I said earlier, the fact that they had this 5,000 years ago to measure someone's autonomics is one of the coolest things that civilization's really bringing us, not even knowing that, hey, this is a type A personality, this is type B, this person's maybe in between, but that's how it goes. And when people are looking at it, you're right, you might not be exactly one of them, you might be a couple, but you're probably going to have a majority of one be who you are. Right. I know people don't want to admit that they're either type A, type B, or some of these, but we are.
Yeah. And it's interesting, when I worked out with a trainer who owns a gym here in Boca, I would tell him, my friend Kim can lift 3 times heavier than I can, and I'm trying. And he goes, Shivani, that's not your body type. I'd be like, I want to have a body like Jessica Alba. I'm working on it. He goes, that's not your body type. And I was confused, because I was like, how can you not build any body type? What are you even talking about? He's, have you not heard of ectomorph, mesomorph? There's types. And when I looked that up, I was like, we teach this in Ayurveda too. You can try to fully defy what you are, but you're going to meet a lot of friction and a lot of walls. And it's much easier to just come to terms with, this is my type. How do I leverage my type? For example, I'm a Pitta. I am Pitta first, physically, mentally, emotionally. And where's my home when I'm imbalanced? Super mad and frustrated. That's where I go. And my automatic homework for myself is, the minute I see myself leaning that way, what is it? What did it? I'm frustrated with my work. Okay. How can we bring some more self-care, soothing, and nurturing into our day instead of going off the road into burnout mode all the time? Because that's the default of a Pitta person. And so it's just about you learning what are your things that kind of push you out of your lane. You can get right back on and get centered again and focused and productive.
Right. And a lot of them have to have balance, because as you and I are Pittas, we know we can go there. If we harness it, we can do a lot of good. But if we go to the other end and we do too much, we're going to get overloaded, and we need periods of, we need to be away from what we do. We need to have that time where we can regroup and collaborate. And I think that's important for circadian rhythms, and people understand, yes, you are one archetype, but it's yin and yang. You have to have that balance, because if you don't, you're going to go one side and it's going to be all it is. And then the next, right under that in the book, you have the elemental energies. There's now another component of this going forward. Now, describe what those energies are. You have the signs or designs,
Yes.
and then you have your energies.
Correct. We have the elemental designs, which is really that overarching concept. What are you primarily? What are you secondarily? And it's important to know that. I'm a Pitta, but I have a pretty Vata mind. My mind wants to go 2 million miles an hour, and social media wants to pull it there all day long. And I have to keep telling my mind, we have to focus, we have to focus, we have to focus to accomplish. And that's my job, is just to constantly tell my mind, stop it and stay on track. And that might be most of us, because one of my professors in Ayurveda school was the Western population is 90% Vata imbalanced because of the nature of modern day society and the way we're building it to be mind focused. We're coming out of our minds and rarely in our bodies and grounding in our bodies and nourishing and feeding the breath. And then you bring in this next layer of those energies. And when we talk about that in the book, those are tamas, sattvic, and rajasic. And what's interesting there, it's just a beautiful understanding that you get to decide the qualities of your life. A sattvic life just means a yogic life. When you go to yoga, you come out feeling blissful and zen and peaceful, and everything is magical in life. That feeling is such a pure, quiet, zen feeling. If that's how you want to design your life, no matter what your elemental design is, you can come from that place and you can build your life that way. You can eat a sattvic diet, have a more zen diet that creates that feeling for you. And then there's this idea of tamasic. And tamasic, I gave the example of Eeyore. If you're in Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore's kind of got a dark cloud over his head. He's always tired. He's always negative, kind of fatigued and moving a little slower, heavy. That tamasic energy can be accomplished in our own lives in different ways. Maybe we're not excited about our life purpose. Maybe we're eating foods that are dead or leftovers or sad and old and they weigh us down. Maybe we're eating foods that just don't suit our body. Maybe we're allowing a lot into our lives that's weighing us down. And having that energy awareness is kind of, okay, in my day, if I feel that way, what caused it? And how do I shift that? And then finally, there's rajasic. And rajasic just means this Eeyore. That was Eeyore. This is Tigger energy. Tigger energy, who's bouncing up and down, moving almost a Vata on steroids. Tigger energy, who's always moving and frenetic and almost bouncing around and causing damage. We may not want to feel that way either. And nowadays, we know if your blood sugar is high, if you're eating too many carbs, if you're eating too much sugar, that can kind of be that energy. And maybe that's not very balanced for you. Maybe you lean into it sometimes when you need high energy in your work life or in your personal life. But for the most part, that middle energy of sattvic, peaceful zen is what most of us want. And Ayurveda teaches a lot about how to have it. There's sattvic diet, there's sattvic lifestyle, there's doing your self-care on a rhythm that will give you that. And for me, as a Pitta who's always on fire with a brain on fire, I'm craving that all the time. That's why I highlighted it in the book that our goal in Ayurveda is to bring body, mind, and spirit in alignment. And we have more tools to achieve that than we think. We assume we wake up, we're getting through our day, life throws things at us. Ayurveda comes at it from a different viewpoint. You start your day, you design your day, you negotiate and balance and build your day, and it's all up to you. And anytime life throws something at you, you get to decide how are you going to calibrate with it. Do you need to pause and have a tea time is me time? Do you need to pause and go for a walk? Do you need to pause and hydrate? You just learn to calibrate with a lot more tools in your toolkit that you can kind of create that emotional home that in the book I called this sattvic feeling.
And then you go on in the book with your 6 pillars. And these are the big pillars of the book, right? Because you're taking that energy and the design, and now you're saying, now you got to add these and understand what you are and put them into these 6 pillars. And let's go into these pillars. What are your 6 pillars on dealing with inflammation?
Sure. So number 1 pillar was elemental design. Know your design, because you can really leverage that and then customize all your lifestyle practices around it. My second pillar was circadian rhythm, because circadian rhythm is such an anchor. If we're going to fight uphill against the streams of life, that's going to cause dis-ease. Versus we can just flow downhill with the river of life by living according to nature's rhythm instead of fighting against it. And that helps us have this level of health that most of us are craving. Then I teach a lot about gut health, because in Ayurveda, we teach about this gut digestive fire and how that fire is our metabolism. Those are the first three. And then I got into super spices because I'm a big fan of turmeric and the super spices. That's where my PhD was. I taught about self-care because that self-care rhythm is key. And then my final pillar was mental inflammation in there.
And you look at that list of 6 and they're all intertwined. To me, is you can't have one pillar and be, okay, I got this pillar down, check, let's move to the next one, which I think a lot of people think, okay, I have these 6 pillars that I have to get down. Okay, I need to know what I am first, check. Now I'll move to the next one, the next one, the next one. But it's, if I go to pillar 3 is going to affect pillar 2 and obviously pillar 1 in front. And it's also going to impact pillar 6, which is the mental health. I don't know if this was done on purpose, but it's well done where you see, oh, if I choose a pillar, I can start to influence the other pillars. Where other books or programs I've done, it's you have to do pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, and it's not interchangeable. Here, you're going to influence one as you do another. It's like Jenga. If I pull this out, you're going to affect the other ones.
It's true. It's beautiful that you read the book. I'm happy because I wrote this book for people to understand that everything we do for our health is intertwined. Mm-hmm. And picking up any one of the tools first, usually if I put them into a 6-week program, I'll tell someone, look, if sleep is your biggest problem right now, just pick up sleep first. Go there first and get that one going because sleep will affect everything else. Sleep is when you clear inflammation and the lymphatic system. All detoxification and healing happens in sleep. Once you're sleeping, you're going to feel better. Now we can talk about a circadian clock and living in that alignment. Now we can talk about eating better. Yes, they're all intertwined and they all mesh together, but I do to start with which one are you struggling with most?
Right.
And if they're coming in and they're, well, I'm just inflamed, I want to figure this out, then definitely we start with elemental design and knowing your elemental design first.
And I think that's obviously the biggest one. That's why it's pillar 1, where some people, they're going to say, oh, well, I don't want to figure this out right now, right? A lot of people don't want to, in fairness, they don't want to know where their autonomics are. I don't know if they're afraid to know where it is, or they don't want to know that they're kind of living a certain lifestyle or a certain way. But I think everyone should know where their autonomics lie and how to balance it. But eventually you're going to get there. But that is the first one to understand, this is who I am. And so you can recognize, you said you list of things that you write in the book of all this stuff that's going to come with it. Because you go over diet, mental, thought, emotion, everything that comes with these designs. And it's first I'm reading, I'll be honest. I'm like, okay, I don't really know much about this. This is not my world. But how is this different than this? And what if this person is here? But you nail even everything: emotions, lifestyle, mind, digestion, temperature, hair, skin, body frame. It all puts together what someone's going to be. And you start looking at archetypes. I start looking at people. I'm like, oh, this is pretty spot on. And that's maybe back in the day, maybe you have the answer to this. Were people looking at people, you sitting there as a doctor reading me and be like, oh, he is this because his mannerisms, the way he talks. I know I talk fast. What I do and then how I act, and they're putting him into, these are what we see. We see 3 kind of total designs as humans.
I think in the ancient traditions, they really needed to understand, looking at you, what was wrong. They didn't have blood tests and stool tests and hair mineral tests and food sensitivity tests. Nowadays in functional medicine, we have a lot of testing that can prove our theories about someone's health. They were going based on the tools that they had. An Ayurvedic practitioner, when you went to them, an Ayurvedic doctor in India, they'd look at you first. Okay, how's the skin looking? How's the hair? How's the nails? Is the belly distended? How are we doing with gut health? Huge history. How are your stool tests? How's everything going in there? But then also we would do a tongue analysis. The tongue shows how all the organs in the body are doing. And that understanding is in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and Indian Ayurvedic medicine. And we'd have someone stick out their tongue and we'd be like, oh, I see some issues. I see what's going on there. We could even do something as subtle as pulse diagnosis. And I've sat alongside a lot of Ayurvedic doctors who can just read your pulse. They'll put their fingers on your pulse. They'll be like, oh, you're a Pitta. It happened to me 3 times in India. They'll be like, oh, you are Pitta. I know. Thank you. 10th time I'm hearing it. And then I'm born to a family of all pitta. You don't want to be in my house when we are hungry. It is not a good place to be. But it's good to know that because they can tell you a lot about your health history that way. To me, it's this ancient understanding of, oh, that's what you are. Great. Now I know actually the root cause of what caused the issue. In a pitta, I'm always, I know the root causes. I am a pitta. We run inflamed. We want to eat hot, spicy food. We want to eat fried food. We can't even eat fermented foods very well because they're too acidic for us. We're hot acid people. And we crave what imbalances us the most. And our job is to go eat those summer cooling foods, eat the healthy fresh salads. But our voracious fire inside of us is just make me happy. And we're going to eat what doesn't balance us. And so that's where I think Ayurveda is fascinating. It's, look, you can have both. You can live a middle ground. We're not expecting perfection here. We just want you to understand yourself and then show you how to build this customized circadian rhythm for your day. Rise with the sun, set with the sun, sleep in that circadian clock window. We teach that 10 to 2 on the circadian clock is the most important time of day to sleep. And that's pretty key when we're talking about inflammation. That's when you're going to clear inflammation, clear the lymphatic system, clear the glymphatic system. And these types of universal principles apply to all of us, to all the elemental designs. And the majority of the book was for all of us. And then it had those customizations around pitta, you run inflamed, you better sleep on time. You vatas, sorry, you've got that disrupted sleep. Let's talk about grounding you, getting enough movement in your day. You're tired enough to get that quality sleep. Let's create enough sleep pressure. Let's use some sleep tools. Do you need some herbs or some ashwagandha to cool you down so you get that sleep? And then with the Kapha crew, you are already going to get phenomenal slumber given, but let's make sure we're eating early enough. Let's hold those bigger intermittent fasts to support metabolism. Let's make sure you're waking up in the morning and getting moving. It's really that customization piece. But I love that Ayurveda teaches these big universal principles that apply to all of us. It says, this is the blueprint to be healthy. It's actually pretty simple, natural, and free. And that's what the whole point of the book was. If it's free and natural and simple to be healthy, let's just go back to that. Because why are we suffering much?
Yeah, and you do a great job on reiterating that it's a balance. Yeah. It's not, hey, you need to do this and you're going to stay inflammation free. You're going to stay this the whole time. If you do all this stuff, everything's a dichotomy in this life. There's always this balance that we have throughout the human body, and we need to have that. There's that ebb and flow, and you go into breaking down how, if you're the different designs, how to manage that. And it's not just a one size fits all cookie cutter. Don't get me wrong, there's some books, and I've talked a lot about how do you decrease inflammation, but you're right, someone's personality design is going to change person to person. I'm not the same person as you. Well, we might be very similar in mental structure, but I'm not the same person as some of my clients. When I give them what I would do and what keeps me structurally sound, to them, it rattles their brain and it's too much because they're not at that stage yet. You do a great job of understanding how the designs affect. And I highly suggest people go and take the test to see what their design is and have that question. Does it match up? And kind of pull your ego back and say, hey, is this really me? Because they're the questions that you ask on the test. I assume they're the similar ones in the book. You're going to give some answers. Some questions, I'm this, but I'm also this. But what is the overall lying one? Here's what I'm at, and here's where I'm at, and here's what we do instead to balance the system out.
True. Very true. And that's the thing. Ancient wisdom is coming through nowadays saying, look, simple is better. Let's keep it easy. Let's keep this doable. Let's keep this attainable. And the goal of the book is to say, look, let's build one habit at a time. And truly, let's build one ritual at a time. Because Ayurveda is very much rooted in these rituals of let's build a beautiful lifestyle. Let's have a cup of tea and use it as the adaptogenic break for our nervous system to drop us into parasympathetic. Let's block one simple self-hygiene routine, tongue scraping in the morning, that can give us the double whammy of helping us detox the body, help us ignite our digestive fire. I really multitasking. I really love multi-benefits out of Ayurveda. And then I love showing people you can build your own rhythm and it can start to feel good. The goal is less brain fog, more energy, less inflammation, less pain and joint pain, but also in the end, that true preventive lifestyle. Because so many of us are doing good things. We're exercising, eating well, protein, all the ideas. But if we're doing it and we're stressed about it and it's not giving us results, then what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ancient wisdom kind of simplified it and said, look, you have a circadian rhythm, you have a digestive fire. How about you eat according to your specific body type? And then you might actually start digesting your food better, absorbing and getting the benefits from that food. That's a big part of the book is why don't you absorb those benefits for your body type? And then you'll get those benefits. Because I'll take myself as an example. I'm a Pitta. I can actually absorb everything. But my Gaffas will sometimes say, yeah, I'm eating raw cold salads. I'm eating my protein smoothie shakes. Everything's cold. And somehow my body's not liking this. And I'll say, yeah, you're Guffa. Let's switch to warm cooked meals. And now you tell me how your digestion's doing. Everything's better. And yeah, that's because you're a different body type. You weren't meant to drop icy cold into your system 24/7 year round. It's about having a balance with that on and off. You don't have to do something 24/7. No. Vattas have a tendency to just grab onto everything trendy. They want ice cream, ice foods, ice smoothies, never warming or grounding themselves. Our homework for them is warm grounding meals 3 times a day and more healthy fat. They actually need more fat because of how lean they are. And that's what helps the oilation of that digestive system. We want them to have more ghee, more avocado, and their tendency might be very astringent, never putting any fat in the system. It's just it's an ancient understanding that I'm trying to bring into our new phenomenon around health and show people, try this. And you can see for yourself if it works for you.
Right. It's just a different way of going about it. And then you have the spice section, the super spice section. Walk us through that, because I think this is really fascinating. I know on the last episode, we talked about turmeric. You mentioned ashwagandha and how these herbal supplements can help circadian rhythms, can help the elemental designs. Because this is a big one. A lot of people always have questions with regarding turmeric and all that stuff. Is like, oh, why am I taking this? What's the purpose for it? But in the cellular level, I mean, these things pack a punch.
They do. I love ashwagandha. It's the next plant I must study. It is adaptogenic. If we're stressed and anxious, it calms us down a couple of notches. If we're feeling the depressed or blues, it lifts us up. It has this perfect thermostat effect. It just assesses what's happening in us and then goes after that issue to bring us back into balance, which I love. And then it has neurocognitive support. It helps us focus better. For some people, it's good for their sleep. They take it for sleep at night. Anything that's multifactorial beneficial, that I get really excited about. And then I love ginger for that reason. Ginger is good for digestion, inflammation, everything. In that chapter, I go into the benefits of a lot of super spices. Coriander or cilantro is a heavy metal detoxer. Fennel is great after a meal as a post-digestive to cool things down if you have high acidity or gas or bloating. Or cumin seeds cooking underneath the food in the pre-cooking process can help with absorption and assimilation of nutrients from our food, or help us digest hard-to-digest foods, lentils and beans. All the spices do so many things, and we just don't use them enough in the West because we don't have the awarenesses around them. No. Even I didn't growing up. I ate Indian food, and I had no idea all that benefit was packed in those meals. And then turmeric, I when I studied it in my classes and in my Ayurveda school, I realized it was such a powerhouse plant and supplement for us. I did my whole PhD dissertation on it. And when I studied it, I just fell in love. It's a powerhouse plant. It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immune supportive because it's antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. I just think of it as the ultimate janitor. It goes in the body and cleans out all the things that shouldn't be there. Malignant cells, senolytic cells, these zombie cells that run around and damage everything and cause more zombie cells. It causes cell apoptosis. Cells that were meant to die, kills them off, takes them out. It's anti-H. pylori, anti-candida. And then it helps with the good stuff, helps with our gut lining, helps leave all the good bacteria in place, helps with our neurocognitive support, cleans out amyloid plaques, tau tangles, but helps with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, these kinds of things. Dementia. It creates neurogenesis and creates mitogenesis, new neurons and new mitochondria, which we want as we're aging. To me, turmeric is the powerhouse plant. And I love that it comes from Mother Nature. Our body knows what to do with it. The body's just like, yeah, I got this. I know where I need that right now for my big issues and my medium issues and my small issues. And over the last decade, I've been working with turmeric in doctors' offices. That was my dream, is to show every doctor how they can use it. And it's actually why I wrote the book, because after 10 years of using it, I was like, wow, turmeric works and everyone loves a pill for a problem. But we're forever going to chase our problems with pills if we don't learn the lifestyle. And the book is really the whole lifestyle you can live. You never need to take turmeric supplements or an NSAID or whatever it is you're taking as an anti-inflammatory. Let's win at lifestyle. Or for some people, if it's intense enough, they do both. They take the pill, but hopefully this building of sleep and lifestyle will really reduce that total systemic inflammation. And then you won't need any outside factors.
Yeah, well, for the turmeric, I know we talked about this last episode. What do you recommend for dosage? If people are curious, do you recommend? I know you said teas a couple times, and there are some teas, some herbal teas that have ashwagandha and turmeric in it. What is your recommendation for that stuff? When to take it? What time of day? Depending on elemental design.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Elemental design adds a new layer.
I'm throwing a big one at you.
Yeah. Okay. It's different for each person then, right? A Vata person who's more lighter, leaner, and more astringent can have dryness in their joints. And a lot of people ask me, okay, when should I take turmeric? How much should I take? What we do say is out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3 to 5% of it is the curcuminoids. And we have studied those the most to know that they are the anti-inflammatory piece of the plant. So that's why I recommend supplementation. A lot of people juice their turmeric or they use the kitchen culinary spice, but usually you're not going to get enough to drive that significant reduction of inflammation. And so that's why a decade ago, I created my own supplement, because I couldn't figure out whose I could trust and whose I could recommend. And everyone's like, well, just make your own. If you want to make a good one, make your own. I did, and I put it into doctors' offices, orthopedic and chiro. My belief is the majority of us can take turmeric twice a day and get that systemic anti-inflammatory benefit. And I've had thousands of people take it for their joint issues and things like that, their aches and stiffness. And that's another big reason we're out there with that. Vata people can take it twice a day. Pitta people, turmeric is hot and we run hot. A solution there is make sure you're hydrating well, staying indoors. Don't do extra turmeric on an extra hot day if you're going to be outside too much. But you can eat it with any cooling food and you're fine. Gaffas are totally fine taking turmeric. There's no issues. We actually want the hotter, spicier spices to rev up the system of a gaffa. It's good for them. Ashwagandha, I love because it's calming and nourishing. It's actually phenomenal for the Vata people. They can have it in tea form twice a day. They can also take it in supplement form. You can take up to 200 milligrams twice a day of ashwagandha very easily, safely. Pittas, we probably need some help being cool, calm, and collected because we get fiery. Ashwagandha is good for us. And then it's also beneficial for Guffa because Guffa can have the blues and need a little bit of a lift. And I actually create the turmeric formulas, but I created some teas with ashwagandha because I needed them. My deep sleep tea has it. My unwind tea has it. I put it in different things just to help us get plants in plant form because I love that tea is a whole loose plant form. And then when it comes to turmeric, I like the supplement because I want to really control that 500 milligrams with black pepper extract into a capsule because I don't want people messing around with a scooper and doing too much.
I think that's a simple way. I mean, for me back in the day, I remember putting turmeric on my chicken. I'm like, how much is enough? And you're, well, I'm just going to sprinkle this stuff on with black pepper and I'm eating turmeric chicken every single day.
Right.
Did it help? You said, I don't know, because it's your traditional spice that I bought at a store. But to me, in my head, I'm doing good. I'm eating turmeric. Then as you learn and you go, it's okay, you got to get more of the refined parts of it. You got to get in certain dosage. And that's where supplements come in handy. And I tell a lot of people that's what supplements are for. Right. And it's for optimizing health. And I know a lot of people are very, very skeptical about using supplements or they've never used it before ever, which is fine. But knowing that you're doing this for optimizing health is number one. Right. We're not doing supplements because they're going to get you jacked or they're going to get you or make you run extra on a 200-meter sprint. That might be a secondary effect, which is fine. And people might look for it. But first of all, when we're talking supplements, it's how can we really enhance the mitochondrial function of your cells, to enhance all metabolic function and immune function.
Totally. I agree. I mean, so many times when we're taking supplements, we're leaning on them heavily, especially in the health and wellness space. I take 20 to 30 a day. And it's, well, at that point, what are you eating exactly? What's happening in your diet that you're not achieving those goals? But I think we all have different approaches around them. Some are my daily, I know I'm going to always be deficient in vitamin D. I know my diet isn't giving me my B vitamins. Certain things I know I'm going to need because my food simply doesn't give it to me. That's like my first category. Then my second category is, okay, what am I working on right now? This year, my house had mold. Okay, we've got a special protocol in place. And then a lot of us have these longevity optimization stacks where we're, well, as I'm aging, I know inflammation is going to rise, mitochondria will decline, my neuron cells, everything is going to go into this state of real decline. And we have more oxidation in the system, more inflammation. I have a whole stack called antioxidant, mitochondria support, brain support, herbal support, the ashwagandha we talked about, and the turmeric. And that's how I think of it, is where are you going to focus your time, energy, and finances, really, because supplements aren't cheap, and put them into taking the things that are really going to 5x, 10x in those categories you want to focus on, because we all have different categories.
I would agree. Most people are probably in that longevity stack. If you look at my supplement drawer, that's what it's going to be. Yeah, there's some crossover for longevity and performance, but most of it's for longevity, right? We're looking to how can we optimize cellular health and fight inflammation that through the air and through one of the worst ones is plastics. And that drives me crazy, but it's everywhere. I can't avoid it. It's on carpets. It's in certain things. It's in the weight room. The best I can do is say, okay, I'm going to take anti-inflammatory supplements to help clear out the toxins in my body. Hence where you have your higher dose turmerics, your longevity stack. That's how I use it. I never want people to feel like afraid, oh, another supplement. It's like, you're going to be okay with it, knowing that you're working towards a better all health goal, dropping inflammation, etc., or whatever, or calming your elemental design, or using that for that. That's how I look at supplementation.
True. I do too. I mean, we really all need to look at where in our lives and in our health we're suffering the most. And usually we have some awareness. As we're aging, maybe it's aches and stiffness. Maybe it's joints hurting. Maybe it is that brain fog for you, or maybe it is that visceral fat or weight gain. And in women's health, we have a big conversation happening around perimenopause, menopause, and what that means for the system and the body. And I'm pretty obsessed with that topic. And we're talking about longevity more and our health span. And what does health span mean, and quality over our health span mean, as opposed to just spending our last quarter of our lives in and out of doctors' offices, in and out of hospitals. I mean, we know that chronic inflammation is the leading cause of disease. We know that the majority of why people are suffering is heart attacks and all these different things that are driven by inflammation. Chronic metabolic disease, chronic inflammatory diseases are up exponentially. And I really think of this as, what are we going to do to put a beautiful prevention plan in place in life? And that's going to come with habits, sleep and movement and all these things. It'll come from our diet and honoring digestive fire we teach in Ayurveda. And it'll also come from great supplements and herbs and spices and all these things kind of coming together. And that's why the book was important to me. There's a lifestyle. And when I went to India and discovered it, I felt so healthy and amazing. And how come in the West, we just don't know about it? That's not fair. Yeah. So I'm going to go take that wisdom and put it together. And I've practiced it over 20 years with thousands of clients now. And I have to find a way to make it fun and attainable and doable and easy, but people will start picking up those habits one by one.
And that's the biggest thing is getting that out to people who don't understand it, or might have a little bit of pushback from what do you call it? Eastern medicine, or just not the Western medicine, not the
integrative, holistic,
Western orthopedic, ortho-minded medicine that we have, which is great. I'm not knocking that, but there's a lot more that comes from different parts of the world from a medicine standpoint that is underutilized. And one of the big things is, for me at least, I don't think the insurance companies want you to really know what turmeric can do, what some of this stuff can do, because it's not as profitable as some other things. But that's a conversation for a different day. but at least sitting down and giving people the knowledge and the structure of a book to say, hey, I'm going to look at something different. I'm going to now talk to my doctor and say, well, what about this? Or if they don't see anything or any progress, they go, well, I'm going to find you and I want to talk to you. You can now help me differently and see a different lens because my problems aren't getting solved.
Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie here from Think Fitness Life. Our entire careers have been dedicated to fitness, particularly how the mind helps the body. We've been around gyms and nutrition strategies for 25 plus years collectively, and nothing harms or helps better than your own mind, untrained or trained. Pushing beyond your limits, overcoming whatever's thrown your way, and making the decision to show up day in and day out as a lifestyle takes more soul than sand. And what I mean by that is when you can get your mindset and heart leading you consistently in the direction of your goals and dreams, well, it's just a matter of time before you have the performance, physique, or quality of life you're yearning for. See, your thoughts will stem from your beliefs, which will then lead you to action, which develop into your behavior and ultimately lead you to results. It's really that simple. Our process takes time and it takes open communication. It's amazing what pops up along the fitness journey to betterment, and we can be there every step of the way. To learn more or apply for coaching, visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com. Start recreating your life today.